So I'm going to say my sister, myself, and my mom had about five different church homes throughout my childhood. And then I went to my other family members' prospective churches. Like I had an aunt who went to her own church. Um, or a stepfather whose church is where his, family is, or a cousin who still goes to their own church. So, visiting the churches of other family members. Surprisingly, my family didn't all decide to go to the same church. I know that churches can be hereditary, so that, if your grandma went to, a certain church, everybody went to your grandma's church. That's not how things were in my family. I said, okay, well, this is Auntie's church over here. She likes to go over here. We'll go with her one day. This is my cousin's church. We'll go over there one day. This is my stepfather's church. We'll go over here one day. Everybody in the family had their own churches. As far as my teen years, we were sometimes in churches where the dress code was restrictive, and you really did have to deal with your dress code offending one member and maybe not another. So where one church member might be like, oh, well, the girls can wear lip gloss, and I don't have an issue with the lip gloss. You'd be surprised they even scrutinized the way that we walked. I had one church mother tell us that we need to walk with a tiny twist. Like, we don't need to walk in a full twist, but, walk with a little bit of a twist. I will never forget the day that, we had choir rehearsal. We had a female pastor at one point, which I love female leadership. But again, my rule was always when in Rome. So if you don't want us wearing skirts at your church, I won't. But, if we're just practicing and I'm coming after school and I wear pants at school, I can't help how I'm coming to practice. But I will never forget, one day my female pastor had dropped in by surprise to choir rehearsal. We wear pants to choir rehearsal because it's not church. And she threw full shade indirectly. She talked to one of the other girls. She's like, well, you know what? Your skirt is so tight, it might as well be pants. Well, really, she wanted to, say something to me about wearing pants to, choir rehearsal. Even when it came to how our hair was done, sometimes the curls would be an issue. It's just, especially with women. Those curls, the makeup, the lip gloss, how you wear your nails, it can come under a lot of scrutiny. Even when it was time for us to get up and sing, and like I said, it didn't matter what church we went to, we still had to go to other churches and sing at their revival, or if they had a special service. If you grew up in church, you already know everybody had a 100 Women in White service. So these different revivals and services, you had to show up and go sing. Or if your pastor was the guest pastor anywhere, you had to, show up with your pastor if they guest pastored. So even when it was time to pick out our outfits to go to different churches, depending on who was, in charge of us, we might have gotten a little scrutiny. Like, you know what, you're not dressed modestly enough. You got to be compared to other people, saying, I like how simple this person's outfit is. Yours needs to be more simple. Nails included. I want you no nail polish, clear nail polish, neutral nail polish. Very strict dress code growing up. You guys let me know if you can relate, if you've been, female growing up in church and that dress code was offensive per member. You really don't know, who's going to get what. And it's not just for young women. My mother-in-law is a first lady, and she used to tell me all the time that somebody would come up to her and, talk about the length of her skirt, the hemline, or if they thought something was appropriate for church or not. The women are always going to get a whole lot more scrutiny for how they show up. Again, don't know if that's still an issue modern day, but it definitely was with us growing up. Let me know if anybody was on your case when it came to your dress code and going to church growing up.